In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. How are you all? I hope you all are doing well. I welcome you from Pakistan International School Types Virtual Learning System. Dear students, this is biology class and today is lecture number 3. Today we are doing chapter number 10, gaseous exchange. And in this chapter, today we will see the next topic, mechanism of breathing, and we will see some respiratory disorders. Dear students, as in the previous topic, we have studied about the respiratory system, or we can say the breathing system of human beings, in which we have studied about the upper respiratory system and the lower respiratory system. Upper includes nose, nasal cavity, nostrils, and up to pharynx, and then we go down. That is a trachea, bronchi, and the lungs. We have studied about all these organs of the respiratory system of human being. Today we will see that how this breathing process is done. How do we breathe? Which things are required and what is the mechanism of breathing? So as you see in this diagram, the breathing process in human beings, you can see the lungs are raised and then they get shrinked. How does it happen? We will see now. Dear students, breathing process is done in 2 steps. All breathing process is done in 2 ways. That is called inspiration and expiration. Inspiration means to breathe in air and expiration means to breathe out air. So if you see in this diagram, you can see here inspiration and expiration process. There are certain organs which are required for this process. Number 1, the lungs, intercostal muscles. The next one is diaphragm, ribs. This is sternum as well, but this is called chest bone. All these things collectively perform the function of inspiration and expiration. How it is done, we will see here. Actually, inspiration means inhaling the air is active process. Active process means, as you have studied in 9th class, that it means the process which is done by the expenditure of energy. So inspiration, breathing in, is done by the expenditure of energy. So the energy is produced by the cellular respiration, that is called ATP. And expiration, X means exit, that out, like the when we breathe out the air. So expiration is passive process. So we inhale the air actively, and in response of that, we can expire air, but that does not expenditure much energy or any type of energy. So that is passive process, like it is happened by itself. Let's talk about this all in detail. So what happened while we inspire the air? Contraction of external intercostal muscles and relaxation of intercostal muscles, internal intercostal. Actually, these ribs are having two types of muscles. You can see here, this one. These are external intercostal muscles, and inside internal intercostal muscles are there. Two layers of muscles are there. When external will contract, so they will contract, and they will let's move the ribs upward, and internal intercostal muscles will relax. Intercostal muscles are the muscles which are present among the ribs. These spaces are covered with the muscles. When intercostal muscles are contracted, so what happened? Rib cages move forward and outward. You can see here, rib cage, this cage, all the ribs just move upward and outward also, like the balloon that swells like the balloon. It gives the space. Actually, the function or the purpose is to give the space for the lungs. The next very important, that the diaphragm. Diaphragm contracts and become flattened. So you can see here, look, diaphragm gets contract and it gets flattened and down, like it just moves downward to give more space to the lungs. And this all increase the volume of thoracic cavity. Thoracic cavity, this chest cavity, all chest cavity where the lungs and ribs are present, that is called thoracic cavity. And air pressure in the lungs is less than the atmospheric pressure. It means now, because the ribs are raised, the diaphragm gets down, lowered, and now there is too much space to expand the lungs. So now the lungs are gonna expand, but why they are expanding? Because now they are having too much space. When there is too much space, so the air pressure is less. So that is opposite of one another. So when volume will be increased, like this is the volume, that is the physics law, volume will be increased, so pressure will be decreased. Now in the lungs, the pressure is decreased, so now this will intake the air into the lungs to compensate, to equalize the pressure outside and inside the lungs. Now air gets inside. If we talk about expiration, it is a passive process. It is done by itself, like all the things which are going on. Inspiration, that will be opposite in expiration. Like external intercostal muscles will be relaxed and internal intercostal muscles will be contracted, and that will like decrease the space of the rib cage, and rib cage will move downward and inward, and by that diaphragm relaxes and it moves upward again in the normal form, its dome shaped form, and then the pressure of the lungs, air pressure in the lungs will be decreased. Volume will be decreased and air pressure in the lungs is greater than the atmospheric pressure, because now they are filled with the air. Now what happened? Outside the pressure is less and inside the pressure is more, so the gas will exhale now to equalize the pressure. So all the functions which are done in inspiration, that are opposite to the expiration. So by that, we breathe continuously without delay. If we see moral affection of diaphragm, because diaphragm is very, very important part of our body while we do breathing. So what happened? When here a rib cage expands, a rib muscles contract. We know this. When rib muscles contract, so in inhalation, excuse me. So in inhalation, diaphragm contracts and moves downward. What is diaphragm? Actually, it is the muscular layer which separates the thoracic cavity from abdominal cavity, and that also helps and plays a great role in breathing process. So what happened? Diaphragm contracts and moves downward. And when we exhale, diaphragm relaxes and move upwards. Air exhaled out, rib cages gets smaller and rib muscles relax. Here is a model of that. There are straw balloons in the bottle. We just make, this is a trachea, then bronchi, and we just bind two balloons with that, and here a big balloon is under that. That is actually an activity that by which we can understand the process of breathing properly. Like when the diaphragm moves downward, it gives the space here to get air inside the lungs, and the lungs just the lungs filled with balloon. And when we just push this inside the diaphragm inside, and what happened, all the air moves outside. So this is easy understanding of expiration and inspiration, or exhalation or inhalation process. Okay, so let's talk about breathing control center. Okay, we will see now that how the breathing process is controlled in our body. As we know that breathing is involuntary process, but sometimes we can control it for just a shorter period of time. A human can breathe up to 16 to 20 times per minute. A normal person can breathe like this. So where is the breathing center? Definitely it is present in the brain, because brain controls and coordinates all the body functions. So it is present in the brain, in medulla. You see this part, pons and medulla, and that is called brain stem, and that controls the breathing process in a human body. Actually, this breathing center, or we can say respiratory center, that is very sensitive to concentration of carbon dioxide. So how it is very sensitive to carbon dioxide? We can take an example that when we do some exercise or we do some hard job, so what will happen? We breathe very fast. Why this is so? Because when we do exercise, our body all the cells do respiration, use oxygen for carbon dioxide, and then carbon dioxide is released in the blood. Due to that, in the blood, what happened? Carbon dioxide amount gets increased when carbon dioxide amount is increased, it reaches to the brain. When the blood is reached to the heart, so the sensors which are present in the heart, that is the nerves as well, and some chemoreceptors and uh, some other receptors are present in the aorta. And what happened, they just senses the amount of carbon dioxide in the blood. They take the message to the brain in the medulla and pons. Both of them coordinate with one another, and they give messages with the neurons to our these lungs, muscles, and diaphragm as well, diaphragm and the muscles as well here. And by that, in response, our rib cage, our muscles, our diaphragms move rapidly, and these nerve signals trigger contraction of muscles, diaphragms as well, and rib cage as well. By that, the movement of these muscles gets increased, and due to that, increased increased movement of these muscles increased our breathing rate. When these muscles contract and relax again and again so quickly, so what happened? We breathe out carbon dioxide, because carbon dioxide in our body gets increased. And when it is increased in the blood, it makes the pH, as you know, the pH low. When the pH of the blood gets low, so what happened? It becomes acidic, and that is dangerous for our body. So quickly the message just reaches to the brain, and here the breathing control center that stimulate, that is medulla and pons, that stimulate our chest cavity. And due to the increased movement of the chest cavity, we exhale more carbon dioxide, and then we inhale more more oxygen. So if this will not be happen, so what will happen? Oxygen will reach very less to our body, and lots of like parts will get less oxygen, and due to that there will be deficiency of oxygen, and there can be the problem. Okay, so by this, or this respiratory control center controls our breathing process in our body. So when we exercise or do any hard job, so we can breathe 30 to 40 times per minute, and it is too much, like double of this which we breathe at the normal condition. So dear students, now we will see some expired and inspired air. That what is the comparison, like how much gases we inhale and how much we exhale. So we know that in the air is a mixture of gases. Lots of gases are present in the air, including oxygen, very important, which we inhale. We inhale almost 21% oxygen is present in the air, and we inhale all 21%. And but when we expire, when we exhale, so we exhale 16% oxygen. And what about the 5%? 5% is utilized and exchanged in our body. Amount of carbon dioxide, yes, definitely 0.03 to 0.04% amount of carbon dioxide is present in our in the air. So all we inhale, because we are inhaling whole of the air like in one breath. So we inhale all that amount, but we exhale more of this. Why we exhale more amount? Because our body produce more amount of this uh, carbon dioxide, so we exhale. Amount of nitrogen, there is 79% or 78% nitrogen is present in the air, so we exhale all this amount of nitrogen in the air, because we don't our body does not use that nitrogen, because it does not need that nitrogen, because nitrogen is inert gas, so it is not required in the body as such. Although it is a part of our body in the form of amino acids, proteins, hormones, antibodies, everything, like proteins especially, so they that is, but we just take nitrogen uh, like plants, plant foods, and other protein rich foods. So we don't use this nitrogen which we inhale from the air. So we exhale all the amount of nitrogen in the air. Amount of water vapors, if we like, that is variable, which we inhale, which we inspire. Water vapors, if there is a rainy season, if there is too much humidity, so that there is more water vapors. If there is dry environment, so less. That is variable. So but we exhale saturated amount of water vapors, because and as a result of respiration with carbon dioxide, we know that water is also formed. So you can just do this experiment when we just put hand in front of your mouth while exhaling, or you can exhale in front of the mirror. You can see lots of water vapors are just exhaled out from your mouth. Okay, so next one is amount of dust particles, that is variable. Variable, if there is dust storm, if there is too much pollution, there is too much dust storms, dust particles. If we are living in a clean environment, sometimes there are dust storms, so that is variable. And the same we exhale from our body no dust particles, because in the previous topics we have studied that dust particles which go in our body, that are filtered out, or that are stuck with mucus and removed by cilia, which are present on all our respiratory system, including our nose, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles. So all these parts are having mucus and a small cilia, which traps these dust particles, and that is removed out in the form of a phlegm or sputum, or and that is not exhaled out anymore. Temperature is a variable. Like in cold, there is less temperature. In summer, there is more higher temperature. So that can be variable. Like we inhale hot air, we inhale cold air. That is variable, but almost equal to the body temperature. We know this process as well, that cilia and mucus is present in our body. There does not only broom out those dust particles and bacteria, but they also keep the air equal to our body temperature. So when we exhale, like when it we inhale outside, it is variable, but when we inhale it, that is having like equal to the body temperature. Their temperature is equal to our body. Otherwise we can be ill very soon if the temperature is changed. So and when we expire or exhale the air, so because that is releasing out from our body, so that's temperature is equal to our body's temperature. So it means that exhaled air or expired air is also having almost equal the body temperature. Sometimes we feel that the exhaled air is having high temperature. It happens when we just wearing warm clothes, and when we are having fever or high temperature of our body. So the temperature of the air will be increased. Okay. Yes, dear students, we will see respiratory disorders, and in that respiratory disorders, first of all, we will see bronchitis, then we'll see emphysema, pneumonia, asthma, and lung cancer. Today we will see bronchitis. Bronchitis, the name is telling you that is related from bronchi or bronchioles, that the word is bronchitis. Tis is for disorders. Actually, disorders mean the disturbances of the normal state of the body functioning, because tis comes with inflammation or disorders with any of the body organ. So it is actually inflammation of bronchi and bronchioles, that is trachea, and that is bronchi, and then we are having bronchioles as well. So what happened, that is normal bronchial tube, and that is abnormal or inflamed lining of bronchial tube. If we see that excessive mucus is secreted out, and by that this portion or this tube of bronchi or bronchiole gets narrow and it's swelled up, like it gets inflammation. So, and it releases now thick mucus. And due to that, you can see the difference. This is the normal condition and this is inflamed condition. So what happened? There is in the normal more air or oxygen will we inhale, and more carbon dioxide will move out. But here what happened, where mucus gets thick, we know that in bronchi or bronchioles mucus is also present. So when it gets thick, so and this tube becomes narrow, so what will happen, very less air will come out and go outside. So there will be the breathing problem when we cannot inhale more oxygen and exhale more carbon dioxide. So there is the breathing problem. That is the respiratory disorder, by which we cannot respire properly because we cannot get too much oxygen in our body. And when we will not get too much oxygen, so our cells can be damaged and our body can be sick, and lots of tissues can be die. Okay, what are the causes? Actually, most of the time causes are viruses and bacteria, but smoking and some chemical irritants which just come out from the factories, like factories, and the smokes, wood smokes, and the smoke which come out from anywhere, that can be the cause of bronchitis. Actually, bronchitis is having two types: acute bronchitis and chronic bronchitis. If we see acute bronchitis, it's very common, like it can be like a common cold, common flu. So sometimes what happened, there is a thick mucus and there is an inflammation, but the main issue is this: it can last just about 2 weeks, and patients can be recovered permanently without any damage of the lung tissues. And here is the conditions. There is a reduced airflow in the bronchitis when there is thick mucus is obstructing its pathway. So by this damaged airway, reduced airflow will be, and there will be breathing problems. But if we just come to chronic bronchitis, so what will happen? It develops chronic inflammation. You can see a healthy one, and the inflammation of excess mucus. It can damage the lining as well. And a chronic means it can just last for 3 months to 2 years or more than this if it is not treated. And even it can be lethal or dangerous for the person as well if it is not treated. So you can see here, this is the normal one, and here now the mucus gets accumulated in this one, and that bronchi gets narrower, and now here, look, you can see the difference. Very less air can be just pass in and out. You can see the air is passing, too much air is passing, but here very less air can pass through it. If we see its symptoms, the common symptoms for both of them, chronic and acute, that is cough. Cough due to due to presence of a mucus in the bronchi and bronchioles, as well as a sputum and the narrowing of that tubes. Mild wheezing, like when the cough, a whistling sound comes out from, like when we breathe. So what happened was whistling sounds come out due to the presence of that mucus. Most of the time in chronic, and sometimes in acute bronchitis as well, of fever is the common symptom, chills, as well as a shortness of breath. And most of the time when we do hard job or hard exercise, we go high in the we just move upstairs, and especially when we do hard jobs, so there is shortness of breath. So doctor suggests not one treatment for that, lots of treatment, all collectively. We give doctors suggest antibiotics if excuse me, if it is bacterial, that is, antibiotics are given to the patient, as well as some cough medicines are given, and to reduce chills and fevers and pain in the body, like headache is there. So we are having over-the-counter medicines like aspirins, like anti-inflammatory drugs as well as are given for the patients who are suffering from chronic or acute bronchitis. Chronic bronchitis just takes too much time to be cured, and regular medicines are suggested for that purpose. And as we know that the persons which are like 45 years and more than this and older than this, they are actually the sufferers of this bronchitis. And dear students, so this is all for today. We have studied about the mechanism of inhalation and exhalation, as well as we have studied the differences between exhaled and inhaled air, breathing center in the body, in the brain, that is present in the brainstem, as well as we have seen one of the disorders of respiratory system, that is bronchitis, and treatment as well as some symptoms. So just take care of yourself and your family. Inshallah, we will see you in the next lesson. Wish you all the best.